The executive order raises the bar for all nominees. You're listening to ABC News.
Hi, this is Lori Grenier. You've seen me on Shark Tank. Many entrepreneurs love the flexibility that comes with owning their own business. Cabbage offers a line of credit of up to $100,000 with the flexibility small businesses need. Apply online or from your phone by securely linking your business information. You will get a decision in minutes. There's no waiting in line, scanning documents, or tracking down financial statements. Once you're approved, you can access your funds right away or draw from your line later when you need to stock up on inventory, hire employees, or cover unexpected expenses. You choose when to use your funds and how much to take. You only pay for the funds you actually use. Cabbage has provided over $2.5 billion in funding to 90,000 small businesses. Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Go to Kabbage.com or call 888-CABBAGE. That's Cabbage with a K, Kabbage, and 888-CABBAGE.
A New Jersey couple whose son died of a drug overdose is going public in an unusual way.
The obituary for Andrew Oswald III states, "Our beautiful son Andrew died from an overdose of heroin. He was 23 years old." His mother, Stephanie, didn't want to mince words about what killed him.
This is heroin. It's a devil. It's the devil itself, and it gets into your child, and you can't get it out.
She says heroin deaths need to be publicized.
People have to stop hiding this disease. They need to stop pretending that it doesn't exist.
The Oswalds believe that the obituary will help bring the shame of drug addiction out of the shadows. Mona Rivera, ABC News.
It is not cheap to attend the Super Bowl, but this year people are paying more for seats to the big game than they have in ever before.
From a few hundred to a few $1,000s and beyond, the cost of a ticket to Super Bowl 51 has been a moving target.
Prices have kind of yo-yoed much more than we've seen in years past.
Glenn Lerman of StubHub says Super Bowl ticket prices generally spike right after the championship games and then steadily fall right up until kickoff. This year,
we saw that initial pop, and then we saw the market sort of crash. And now we're seeing the market starting to go back up.
Of the 75,000 seats at NRG Stadium, a quarter have gone to corporate sponsors. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Houston.
And those prices not expected to go down from now until kickoff. This is ABC News.
ADT presents What to Consider When Considering Home Security. An ADT sign is more than a sign. It's a line in the sand. On one side, your family. On the other, an uncertain world.
For over 140 years, more people have chosen ADT to help prevent crime than anyone else. Get ADT starting at just $28.99 a month.
Tested, trusted, proven ADT.
With 36-month contract for licensing and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Daria Albinger, ABC News.
From the KMET Weather Center for Beaumont and the Pass area this morning, there's a chance for showers. Otherwise, we'll have a mostly sunny day with a high 59 with winds to 25 miles an hour. We'll have some patchy fog tonight. Unity Party County, a low 45 with winds to 20 miles an hour. Sunday, there's a slight chance of an afternoon shower. We'll have a mostly sunny day with a high 63 with winds to 20 miles an hour. For the Inland Empire today, we can expect mostly sunny skies at a high 62. For the desert cities, it'll be sunny, our high 71. I'm Rod Tanner for Smart Talk 1490 KMET.
Don't miss the next evening meeting of the Banning Beaumont Cherry Valley Tea Party. We're going to be graced by two local mayors. Banning Mayor George Moyer and Beaumont Mayor Lloyd White will be speaking, answering audience questions. We'll also have our continuing series of Constitution classes by Douglas V. Gibbs. That's 5 p.m. February 9th at the Farms House Restaurant in Banning. Hope to see you there.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
Welcome. It is time for Constitution Radio on KMET 1490 AM. And now we're at 2 hours, so if you want to stay with us for 2 hours, it's a great time to do so. This is our first 2-hour episode. Remember, if you miss the show, or you miss parts of it, you want to listen to it later, you can go to our Constitution Radio page at KMET1490am.com. Get the podcast. I also put these shows on YouTube later, youtube.com/Douglas V. Gibbs. If you would like to call in, 951-922-3532. And we have, as always, Alex on the air with us, Alex Ferguson, somewhere in the concrete jungle of Los Angeles County. You're feeling a little better about coming out and seeing your shadow at this time of year there, Alex?
You calling me a hog?
No, a groundhog.
A groundhog. Do you know that it turns out that thing is a marmot?
So was the last president.
I got other things to say about him today.
Yeah, a rodent. Okay. So how you doing out there? Are we ready to roll?
I'm locked and loaded and primed.
And we have the communist that we're still talking about at the bottom of the hour, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in the studio with me, I also have with me Dennis Jackson, Bravas Corporation, and the executive producer for the Enemies Within, enemieswithinmovie.com. Go ahead and let the audience know you're existing here, Dennis.
Well, hello. It's good to be with you, Doug. It's kind of exciting to chat with you live and see where this goes.
Yeah, and Kurt Nordahl, a.k.a. Brian Curtis, the author of What Pisses Me Off About the Good Old USA. He's been on the air with us before. Welcome.
Thanks, Doug. Good afternoon.
Okay, good to have you. All right, here's what we're going to talk about here at the top of the hour. I have a few things I was wanting to get going. But before we get going, Education in Crisis, Constitution Association meeting tonight at 5 o'clock in Menifee. For those of you who are in the area, 26850 Cherry Hills Boulevard in Menifee. And we are going to have Julie Farnbach. She's a member of the Temecula School Board, come in and talk about what's going on with the education industry, the dangers, where we at, how we can turn it around, opportunities, and also I have some news that I'll be telling the group about things that I've been working on, including an after-school program for teaching the Constitution to our kids, as well as a curriculum for Congress of Racial Equality and also for the private and homeschool system. We will talk about that in more length tonight at the Constitution Association monthly meeting. Hope you're there. Go to constitutionassociation.com to learn more. Last night, I moderated at the Murrieta Temecula Republican Assembly a debate, forum, panel, and we had two gentlemen from the conventionestates.org and two gentlemen from the John Birch Society to debate this issue. So I wanted to bring it up real quick. Article 5 convention, and I don't know how much you gentlemen know about this, but basically in the United States Constitution, in Article 5, it gives the explanation on how to carry out amending the Constitution, and it gives two options. Congress, with two-thirds of Congress, can propose amendments, or the states can have their own convention, and with two-thirds of the state's approval, propose those amendments. And in both cases, it still needs three-quarters ratification by the states, be it by convention or by state legislature. That's up to each state. And there is a movement out there right now by groups like conventionestates.org, Freedoms of Article 5, and a few other groups out there that are pushing for this Convention of States so that we can get our Constitution updated, maybe with term limits or a budget bill or budget amendment to make sure there's a balanced budget, repeal the 17th Amendment. There's a number of different things that are on the table. But the John Birch Society and Eagle Forum, Phyllis Schlafly, matter of fact, felt this way, feels that it's dangerous. It could be a runaway convention, that's what happened with the Constitutional Convention. Not that that was a bad convention, but it was an illegal convention because the Articles of Confederation required 100% unanimous state decisions to change the Articles of Confederation. But what they did is they literally threw it out the window and created a whole new constitution. And that's the fear, that if we have one of these Article 5 conventions, that will happen, that it'll be hijacked by Soros money or the liberal left, and it'll become this constitutional convention, this con that totally rewrites our system, puts us in jeopardy. So that is what the discussion was. Now, based on your little knowledge, I'll start with you, Alex. You and I have talked about this actually a few times. What are your thoughts?
I do not consider myself sufficiently schooled in this subject matter to make a pronouncement. I like to be on solid ground, and I can see a danger.
Right.
On the other hand, I can also see that something needs to be done. So I'm holding fire.
Well, when it comes to the danger, I see it as a valuable tool, just like I see a hammer as a valuable tool. Like I tell people, there's a danger of me hitting my thumb with a hammer, but that doesn't mean I stop using it or refuse to use it because I might hit my thumb. What I need to do is make sure I use the tool properly so that I don't hit my thumb. So when it comes to that runaway convention, if we're operating properly this convention, making sure that it follows the rules that is for amendments only, I think we could avoid the danger of a runaway convention. Kurt, what do you think?
Well, Doug, I go back to when I hear this type of discussion, actually takes me back to the Civil War era.
Right.
And when the South separated from the North, right?
Right.
And so if you talk about using a hammer and the threat of using a hammer and hitting if this all comes together, we could, in essence, if it goes south, right?
Yeah,
right?
we could.
I mean, I would hate to see us somehow get back to where we've got states segregating themselves from the Union, so to speak.
Seceding,
right?
yeah.
Seceding, excuse me. And I'm not sure if we can handle that at this stage with the transition into a new administration, a lot of things going on. Not sure, to be honest with you, if we're ready to take on this or not. Does that sound?
All right. So you don't.
Does that make sense?
It almost sounds like you're saying we're not mature enough, but what you're saying is we have such a political discord right now in this country.
Exactly.
That it may not be the wisest of moves. Now, those that are against convention, they support the idea of nullification. In other words, getting the states to make null and void unconstitutional actions by the federal government by refusing to implement it and so on and so forth. Dennis Jackson, welcome to the program. Where do you think you stand on this?
Well, as I've reflected on this, I know that to get anything passed, it's not just a simple majority, as you've already talked about. And the majority of the states, are under the conservative, more so wing of the politics than the liberal side. So as much as you have concerns about Soros and others that you feel are trying to drastically change the Constitution and take away our rights and basically turn the country upside down, I wouldn't think they would have really the great probability to swing that many states with the current situations that the states are in.
Well, since after the 2016 election, we're only one state legislature short from 3/4 of state legislatures being red.
Well, yeah, and you're talking about you need that percentage to flip going the other way for them to be able to do anything.
Well, and if there was a bad proposition that utterly went in the wrong direction, all you need is 14, a quarter of them basically saying, no, we're not going to ratify that, and that's it, it's dead.
So I think there's a good fail-safe based on that. So having the convention, even if nothing really came out of it, it would be an interesting exercise going along with what Kurt was saying, just to see politically, based upon where the country is right now. It'd be an interesting clearinghouse to really put people on record. And that is one thing I would enjoy, is they would have to put themselves on record.
Where they stand on these issues,
instead of hiding behind political speak.
Well, and will those people go on record to indicate that? So that's
conventionofstates.org, Convention of States Project held a mock convention last year, and because they wanted to see how it would go, and it went very well. It was carried very professionally. Those 3 possible proposals, those were the top 3 that came up: term limits, balanced budget, and repealing the 17th Amendment. So that was fascinating too, because 2 of those are a big deal to me. Balanced budget. Thing is, I don't think we need an amendment for balanced budget. We can just get the federal government to quit spending unconstitutionally. The budget would be balanced. I'm not necessarily a fan of term limits. We can talk about that another time. I think we have term limits. It's called informed voters if they use their power. But the repealing the 17th Amendment, that's top of my constitutional wish list. Now, you mentioned secession, and that's interesting because the next thing I want to talk about was Calexit. Isn't it interesting that every time Texas even uttered secession, rear ends in Washington were puckering, but yet suddenly now it's a good thing if the left calls for it.
Correct. And California, with being a supermajority of the left, is threatening now to do this. And so it'd be interesting to see how this goes.
Now, I don't think the left is really behind it, because that's an awful lot of electoral votes, tax dollars, and representation of Congress to just walk away. And I've been doing some research. I think it's the Aztlán movement, that idea that this is a part of Mexico, those Marxist, Mexican kind of ideas. I think that's what's behind it from what I've been reading.
And are those people also embedded within the California state legislature?
Some of them are.
Exactly.
You got Laura, for example.
So I think it's both of that, because they're going to need people in the legislature to push this through or to get it to a vote or whatever they have to do.
Well, the media is putting out numbers, though, that 1 in 3 support this, which I think is not a good number. I think it's probably closer to 1 in 5, 1 in 6. But let's just say they were right, 1 in 3. Mm-hmm. That's still not a majority.
No, not
They're still not going to pull it off.
Right. And with California being the fourth largest GNP in the world.
Well, we're the sixth largest economy in the world. But here's the thing, too. The left thinks in a static manner. So, so their thought is, okay, we leave the United States and everything stays the same. It's just now we're separated. Well, no, because first of all, there's 1 million, just in L.A. County alone, there are 1 million Republicans. You think they're going to stay in California? Now, how much? You're losing workforce. You're losing tax dollars. And also, what's going to happen with, let's say, the Navy base down in San Diego? You think the federal government's going to say, oh, yeah, you get that? No. I mean, remember Fort Sumter and go back to
Civil War,
South Carolina, hey, the state seceded. The federal government said, yeah, but Fort Sumter's still ours.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen. Then on top of that, you're going to have these red areas. Everything is basically east of the ocean cities. Is going to say, well, that's fine. You secede. We're going to secede now from California and ask for readmittance to the Union.
Right.
California would, if it did secede, would wind up just being those coastal cities. So, the left thinks static, or these people behind it think it's static. They don't understand. There's going to be all kinds of consequences to
Absolutely. Well, it goes back to what my dad said. A Democrat will throw you a rope. They won't know how to tie it off to save anybody. So they don't think of the next step, right?
That's great.
Exactly. And so this ties into that. They don't think of all the steps that are going to happen in trickle-down theory. When those dominoes start going down, what's going to be left over to support this? And you're right. There's going to be no infrastructure. There's going to be nothing to support the state if that happens.
Well, and here's what I tell people, too, is within a matter of a few years, California will become Venezuela. And then all we have to do is come back and take over, because we'll have all the guns.
Right.
Exactly. They won't have. All right, real quick, we're getting ready to go to break in about 45 seconds. Dennis has been listening patiently. What do you think of this Calexit deal?
Well, I think it's a non-starter.
Not going anywhere.
They got 1 out of 5. Maybe they said they got 1 out of 3. The Democratic Party won't allow it to occur. If they swap out 55 electoral votes, you take the New York and California delegations, and that's the vast majority of everything, and the biggest chunk is California. So they would never be a national power as they are now, even as weak as they are now. So I don't think it would take place, but I do think it's interesting as a lead-up to discussions about splitting the state if they wanted to do that. But however it works out, like you say, the people that want their freedoms will either go into the new state or they'll leave the state. And it'll be devastating. And California will be a smoking hulk of what it used to be.
All right, Alex, final word.
The final word is that when you said the 17th Amendment, my heart sang. Suddenly I'm all in favor.
Oh, back to the Article 5 Convention. You know what? Yeah, because, well, what that did is it moved us closer to democracy. That's something we'll talk about later on. But right now we have a break to send you guys through. But don't go anywhere. After the break, I have a question for you. With all of the violence going on, Democrat Party liberalism, does that make them a terrorist organization? When we return, don't go anywhere.
You got a dent in your door, a scratch in your fender, or a scratch in your door and a dent in your fender. If you need auto detailing, if you need fire shooting decals on the side of your car, if you need a rally stripe right down the middle of your hardtop, I don't care what it is. The Patriots at AllStar Collision are the place you want to go. They're the only place to go. 522 Railroad Street in Corona. Web address allstarci.com to see all that they do and what they're all about. Phone number 951-279-9161. AllStar Collision, the kings of wreck and roll.
Don't miss the next evening meeting of the Banning Beaumont Cherry Valley Tea Party. We're going to be graced by two local mayors. Banning Mayor George Moyer and Beaumont Mayor Lloyd White will be speaking, answering audience questions. We'll also have our continuing series of Constitution classes by Douglas V. Gibbs. That's 5 p.m. February 9th at the Farms House Restaurant in Banning. Hope to see you there.
Hi, this is Ed Hoffman, President Wholesale Capital Corporation, your direct mortgage lender. Real estate prices are still low, which means now's the time to buy your next home before they go up. Whether it's a home to live in, a vacation house, or an investment property, we can meet your mortgage financing needs to help you realize the next phase of your American dream. At Wholesale Capital Corporation, we make sure you get a loan that you can afford with terms that work for you. Wholesale Capital welcomes FHA buyers, conventional buyers, jumbo loan buyers, and we proudly help the U.S. military veterans take advantage of the zero down payment VA loan program. Nobody treats veterans better than Wholesale Capital Corporation. Seniors, if you're interested in creating an additional stream of income or just making your mortgage payment go away with a reverse mortgage, Wholesale Capital would love to help you. To speak with a loan officer who has your best interests in mind, call Wholesale Capital at 855-640-2020. That's area code 855-640-2020. Wholesale Capital Corporation, where we can close.
Help me fight the good fight. This radio program is funded by advertising dollars. So, if you are a business, add Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs to your business portfolio. If you are a listener, become a patron of the businesses advertising on this program. Without advertising, your weekend dose of truth ends. With more advertising, Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs grows, and we will be on the way to win the battle to restore the Republic. To learn more, email us at constitutionspeaker@yahoo.com or visit douglasvgibbs.com. Welcome back, Constitution Radio, Douglas V. Gibbs, douglasvgibbs.com, as you heard in that last little bit there. KMET 1490 AM and expanding across the globe. We are online, so you can listen anywhere, KMET 1490 AM.com. And also there's a app for your smartphone to make it smarter. Get the KMET app, listen to Constitution Radio when we're on Saturdays at 1 o'clock, now 1 to 3 rather than 1 to 2. We're now 2 hours, thanks to a couple of gentlemen that are in the studio with me and the advertising dollars that they have provided, and also now we're able to fill those 2 hours because we also have their incredible commentary with us, because what the world needs more of is all of ours opinion, but especially Alex Ferguson's. Alex, preview in about 5 minutes. You're going to talk about the communists. Give me a 15-second elevator pitch of what you're going to talk about.
Well, the fact of the matter is that Barack Obama was raised and taught to be a communist from the beginning to the end, and the American press, in a disservice to the voting public, in 2008 quashed all discussion of that issue.
How many Democrats do you think are right there with him in the sense of their connections to communism? I bet you Dennis could tell you, because The Enemies Within film talks about those guys.
Well, that's a terrifying subject, because the Democrat Party used to be about half Marxist and half not. Now I'm thinking more like more than 50% are dedicated Marxists. Not necessarily a member of a Marxist organization, but definitely that way.
You're being fairly kind with the numbers you have in mind. Mine is closer to 90%, but that's just me. Now, real quick, have you had a chance to watch that film, Enemies Within, yet? Alex?
Say what?
Did you have a chance to watch Enemies Within the film yet?
Oh, yes, I did. And of course, my meat and potatoes is communism, and the Enemies Within was more jihadist. But
well, it was a little bit of both. They had a little bit of both. But here's my question to you. Now that you've seen it, what is your thought? What percentage of the American public needs to see it?
All.
All. Of course, that was kind of a lead-in question.
My copy of Hillary's America and The Enemies Within are on loan now.
Oh, you're loaning them out. Make sure other.
Well, we need to get you some more copies, Alex. So you can get some more out there.
Yeah, quit loaning them out, man. Tell them to buy it. No. All right. So we got all these protesters out there, and I'm watching a video by a guy named Mark Dice the other day, and he said what the liberals are doing. All of the fires and the violence, this is domestic terrorism. Domestic terrorism. Now, if any other group was out there doing this, let's say they were screaming, Allah Akbar, Allahu Akbar, would we be saying that's terrorism? Absolutely. So why isn't what the Democrat, liberal left, snowflake, whiny, crying, throwing a temper tantrum brats out there are doing right? Why isn't that domestic terrorism, Kurt?
Because they are saying they have the right to protest, and this is their God-given right. This is their constitutional right to go out there and to protest as they see fit. It has nothing to do with how much damage they cause. It has nothing to do with how much cleanup we have to spend as taxpayers to clean up all their trash they leave behind, or even threats upon the White House. That's okay if they do it.
Yeah. Well, let's read the First Amendment real quick.
They're just leaving out one or two key words of that. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, he knows where I'm going. Am I stealing your thunder?
I think that Constitution in your hands.
Yeah, I got a Constitution in my hands. Well, I got a couple more if you want me to pass them around here.
Wow.
All right, everybody's got a Constitution. No excuses. All right, of course, everybody's got cell phones, smartphones. They can look it up, right? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Here's the key. Or the right of the people peaceably to assemble.
Oh, man.
Well, the Tea Party they're saying, hey, we're just like the Tea Party. No, you're not. Tea Party peaceably assembled. These people aren't peaceably assembling. They're burning things down. They're causing destruction.
They're destroying public property, destroying private property, businesses. I mean, it is not peaceful, as you say.
Go ahead, Alex.
As Ann Coulter, who is my source on many things, says that...
And your hero.
Yeah, my hero. It was during the civil rights movement that we confused peaceful protest and rioting. She says when you're smashing windows and setting fires to stuff, it's not a peaceful protest, and calling the participants gentlemen is just completely nuts. These people are violent. They are out to destroy our society, and they should be dealt with. I notice Sean Hannity is asking various authorities, when are we going to prosecute these people? We've got them on film.
Someone said something fascinating today. Because I spoke in Corona this morning at a Tea Party meeting, and someone said something fascinating. His daughter is in law enforcement. She said because the paperwork involved with processing all of these people would overwhelm the police department. So they would rather just contain them, let them do their thing, be done with it, and then move on.
I say that's false economy. We need to make it cost these people something to go out and burn down buildings and smash windows.
Well, it's funny because during the Black Lives Matter thing, there was this political cartoon going around. These two kids with their pants hanging halfway, down their back end. And one says, and then they're rioting, the fire's going on. You see these, local businesses up in flames behind them. And the one turns to the other and says, what are we protesting again? And the other one says, because we don't have jobs, man. They're destroying the very neighborhood that they live in. They're destroying the businesses that they could have jobs at.
The people who own those businesses are, for the most part, people of color. They're people who followed all the rules and made sacrifices. They deferred their gratification, and their reward is that some moron Marxist comes up and burns them out. Something's got to be done.
Well, one thing I'd like to recommend on this is I have a son who last Monday at 5 o'clock was walking through campus at UC Berkeley on his way to a computer science class. He's a senior there. And that's right about the time that the law enforcement called off the 6 o'clock speaking deal there with Milo. And I called at 6 when I saw it on the news, and he gave me a call back later that night, and obviously was highly disappointed. He's seen several things at Berkeley that haven't made his day. But my point to him is it'd be great to be able to find out who these people truly are, because maybe 10 or 20% are students, a little bit of faculty. But there's a film that is available, and I just gave the note to Doug, and maybe he can put that on the website. But the Capital Research Center just 2 weeks ago released a 20-minute documentary that was shot by the same guys who did the Enemies Within movie. And it's on YouTube, and it goes through and it rips the mask off of the people that are really behind all of these protests, whether it be Black Lives Matter or, this thing.
CNN says it's right-wing agitators.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. So I'll make that available to Doug, and he can put that up on his website, but it's a very well done. It goes into a lot of detail with the people that are really behind the movement of this spontaneous protest that we're seeing happening on campuses and cities throughout the country.
Yeah, and this isn't about protesting, really.
No.
It's about being obstructionist, or it's about opportunists that just want to destroy things. There's a number of things behind it, but a lot of them are paid. And I've been telling people the way to stop this is people like us, conservatives, constitutionalists, need to go over and get the same signs they have, mix into the crowds, and just start talking among ourselves. Hey, how much did you get paid to be here? $400? Oh, I got $5. And all those other little jerks out there be like, what? I got $50. Screw this. They'll throw down their sign. They'll go home.
I'm
telling you, that's the way to do it, right?
Our new Attorney General needs to get an exemption in that hiring freeze and hire investigators and get this under control.
Well, if you could go in there and in the law enforcement environment, everybody being so, pardon the phrase, gun shy, to do things. But if you could go in and cordon off the whole area, not let anybody out, and then as they leave, don't arrest them, don't harass them at all, but just get their ID and find out what they're doing. It'd be nice to know out of 2,000 people, are there 100 students, 60% of them, are they clear outside the zip code, where'd they come from? And then you can say who's there. But they show up in mass, they do their destruction in mass, they all do it under the same thought process, like they're all part of the same group, and then they disappear. But you really can't lay the blame anywhere, because we don't do the control and the analysis, because we're afraid to get in there and violate their rights by asking them to identify themselves, because it's their right to do it.
Well, during the
Doug
Chicago,
said, it's not their right to do it the way they're doing it.
During the Chicago one last year, when Trump was supposed to speak in Chicago while he was a candidate, and it wound up shutting down, Fox News is out there asking these people, so what are you protesting? Well, I really can't say. They were instructed by the people who hired them. You're not out here to talk about why you're protesting. It's what you're angry against, and for you to protest.
To make a scene.
Yeah, that's all it's about.
Right.
All right. I wanted to cover one more thing before we get to Mr. Ferguson's The Communists. And I want to talk about this real quick, short segment here. Kill 2 regulations for every one created. What a great idea. This is something that Trump came up with for his executive branch. Now, I seem to remember back in the day when there was when Reagan was president, and there was a kill $3 worth of spending for every $1 increase of tax. Are we sure when he says kill 2 regulations for every one created that the staffers, that the bureaucrats are going to follow through?
I don't think they will, Doug. Absolutely not. I mean, after the fact that he puts into an executive order,
right?
And then starts knocking these things off one at a time by executive order, then they have to follow suit, right?
Right.
And if they don't, look what happens. You get fired.
Well, and
right?
Well, and he showed that with Sally Yates. He fired the acting attorney general for not being willing to agree with his policies. Now, she was an Obama appointee, but something about the Constitution. Article 2 begins that the executive power is vested in the President of the United States. And what that means is he's the boss. And so he had every right to fire her. He has every right to make sure that the regulations are done a certain way. The question, but it doesn't matter how much right he has to do that, are the bureaucrats, who a lot of them have been there a long time. I don't know if he's replaced everybody. I don't think he has. They're probably leftists. And plus you got Congress, the Democrats start throwing their hands up and crying. Is this thing about the regulations, two gotten rid of for everyone created? How do you choose which two? Of course, to me, it would be easy, but I just don't know if he's going to get the cooperation that he wants with that.
Well, and he probably won't. But like you said, I think you got to look at which regulations are prohibiting businesses and companies and corporations from operating as designed and bringing back that manufacturing and distribution and hiring people. What regulations are preventing that from happening? I think you got to start there, keep it simple, and then start breaking it down from there.
Well, I've got a couple of business friends I'm sure would have no trouble at all nominating their top two or their top one. And if businesses put in their top one, they could collate it and find out which ones really, lead the pack. And as for Sally Yates, regrettably, she has found some support that she can, I guess, smile about in her tears after losing her job with our federal judge in Washington.
Oh, poor Sally Yates.
Giving credence to her statement by saying, we do feel it is unconstitutional and wrong. Now we get to go play that game. And why one judge, can set aside nationally the whole thing, is also a frustrating point.
Every week here on Constitution Radio, I give Alex Ferguson some time to talk about a book he's working on, the book of the week. And this book has been going on for a few weeks. It's The Communist. What was the name of the Kengor, is it?
His name is Kengor.
Yeah, Kengor.
And he's written an excellent book that really is timely. Actually, it's too bad he couldn't have had it in 2008. We might have had a difference in the outcomes. Like you say, though, as you say, the Democrat Party is not the party it used to be. It used to have people like John F. Kennedy, Scoop Jackson, even Hubert Humphrey, who were anti-communist. As a matter of fact, John F. Kennedy, if you study his speeches, he was the most anti-communist president we ever had.
Right.
Which is why a communist shot him in the head. And, of course, that's why the liberals decided to accuse the conservatives of shooting Kennedy. It's all part of the plan. But one of the things that, as you study communism, you find that they're totally wrapped up in unions. John Reed in the movie Reds, if you remember that one, he had a big argument with Lenin about whether to use unions or not. The problem is that the union ameliorates the problems, and therefore there isn't the revolutionary drive. But on the other hand, there's huge advantages to the funding from the unions, the manpower that you accrue, and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a big argument with them for a long time. What you find is that the really effective unions are headed either by communists or mafia.
Yeah, and if you watch the film by Trevor Loudon, Enemies Within, it talks, and also Hillary's America, they both talk about how at one point, finally, the unions, they got rid of that rule that you can't be a communist if you're going to run the thing. They got rid of the rule, so now the communists are free to openly run these unions.
Yeah, well, for instance, with the movie colony out here in California, back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, the communist unions were fighting the mafia unions for control. In longshoremen, we got a longshoreman and warehouseman union. The one on the East Coast is run by the mafia. It used to be Lucky Luciano. The one here in California, or the West Coast, the whole West Coast, was communist, and it was run by a guy by the name of Harry Bridges.
Right.
I looked him up on Google, and there's even an elementary school named in his honor. It kind of reminds me of El Monte. I go into El Monte, and there's a street, John Reed's Boulevard or something like that, named after one of the great traitors in American history. These people are signaling each other that everything is moving along handily. In terms of Frank Marshall Davis, he had a newspaper in Chicago for a couple of years called the Chicago Star, and it was called the
I've
Red
read about
Star.
this. Right.
Then he went to Hawaii and started the Honolulu Record, which lasted considerably longer. That newspaper had no funds. They didn't have money to hire him and keep him employed and running the newspaper. Well, Harry Bridges admitted that he'd gotten money in one of his honest moments, that he'd gotten money from the communists. And we know now, with all the information that has flooded in since the fall of the Iron Curtain, we know that the American Communist Party was fully funded every year of its existence by Moscow. They called it Red Gold. So Harry Bridges was getting static from William Randolph Hearst and the San Francisco Chronicle. He was getting static from the L.A. Times, and those newspapers. Guess what? Once upon a time, newspapers often were conservative.
Well, and not only that, but you had journalists like Charles Wiley, who was an honest journalist. Charles Wiley, by the way, on February 23rd, will be speaking at the Women's Federated out there in Corona. But Charles Wiley, when I was talking to him when he was talking about the Vietnam War, and a lot of his stories weren't getting published because he was being way too honest. Yeah, one of the things that he showed me was this image of a welcome home party or parade for the Vietnam warriors in '73 in New York City. So wait a second. We've been told all our lives that there was no welcome home for the Vietnam vets. But there was. But the media refused to report it. And there was hundreds of thousands of people, hundreds, plural, thousands of people at that event.
Well, the majority of Americans favored the Vietnam War, and as it
supported the troops.
And it came out of and the fact that we didn't want the world to be taken over by communists.
Right.
But the press and the media and the colleges conspired to drive those numbers down as hard and as fast as they could.
Right.
This Harry Bridges guy was not an American. He was an illegal alien. He had been a sailor and jumped ship. He never got his citizenship, and they tried to deport him time and time again, and they couldn't do it because the Lawyers Guild, which is a communist organization, defended him manfully.
Well, Alex, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up because we got to go to break, so give me your final sentence.
Well, I'll give you a little more than that. Nancy Pelosi praised Harry Bridges to the high heavens on the House floor. She says, "I rise today to pay tribute to Harry Bridges, arguably the most significant labor leader of the 20th century. Today we can all hold our heads high and be proud of Harry Bridges' legacy." Well, that's a communist position.
Well, Alex, just to make one quick comment on that, all the things that you've been describing about the media, as influential as they are in the public opinion, it's Pelosi and her ilk in the Congress going back to the 60s, when they're the ones who really lost the war. It wasn't the newspapers. It was our own politicians in Congress.
Yeah, we didn't lose the war militarily. We lost it politically.
Exactly.
They cut off all supplies.
Right.
Well, and all the rules of engagement, to where if they go across this river or across this boundary.
Well, and that's what they tried to do with Iraq. That's what they do. And it's an anti-American move. All right, we got to go to break. We're actually a little bit late. That's okay. It's a soft break, but the next one's a hard break, so we'll have to be on time. When we come back, you know what Kucinich said, Dennis Kucinich said? Take a guess, Alex. There's no telling what that guy would say, right?
I don't know.
He said that in the First Amendment, there's no religious test allowed. He's totally wrong. When we come back, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
The true patriots of AllStar Collision have been proudly serving the Inland Empire for over 20 years. Built on honesty, integrity, quality, and old-fashioned customer service, we offer lifetime warranties for our work, and every vehicle serviced by AllStar Collision is washed, detailed, the headlights polished, fluids are checked and topped off, safety checked, and returned in showroom condition. We offer free estimates, are approved by major insurance companies, and accept all claims for all cars and trucks. We use computerized frame straightening to factory specifications, offer fiberglass body repair and paint, free local pickup and delivery, and after-hours towing. Mention this radio program at drop-off and receive $100 off or a free rental car for up to 5 days during your repair. Visit us at allstarci.com or at 522 Railroad Street in Corona. Call us at 951-279-9161. We are the kings of wreck and roll.
What's your constitutional IQ? Your quest to learn the Constitution can be fun for the whole family. Learn about the Constitution as you play the Constitution Quest board game. Learn more at constitutionquest.com.
Hi, this is Ed Hoffman, host of The Main Event, president of Wholesale Capital, and the founder of WCC Charities. I'd like to invite you to the first WCC Charities Gala and Auction this February 25th at the beautiful Victoria Club in Riverside, where we'll be raising money for wounded veterans causes that so many of us are passionate about. It's going to be a magical night out for a great cause. This is a red tie event because red stands for Remembering Everyone Deployed. Visit the events page at wcccharities.org for more information or call my assistant Shelly at 855-640-2020 to order tickets. That's 855-640-2020. Hope to see you there.
And welcome back, Constitution Radio, third segment, the third out of 6. I love being able to say that. That's right, at the top of the hour when we would normally end, we're going to continue on. So welcome to the show. I hope you're enjoying the program. If you want to call in, you are welcome if you're listening live. 951-922-3532. We would love to get you on the air. Ask a question about the Constitution. Give us a little commentary, scream and yell at us, whatever. 951-922-3532. Would love to have you on. All right. Dennis Kucinich. I was watching the O'Reilly report, and I don't watch TV a lot. And O'Reilly, I see that show maybe once a month, maybe. But I so happen to have it on, and Kucinich is on, and Dennis Kucinich is talking about Donald Trump's executive order limiting travel from 7 Muslim-majority countries. And this former Democrat Party congressman whips out a pocket constitution. I'm surprised he had one on him, first of all. Whips out a pocket constitution. He says the First Amendment does not allow religious tests. Now, one of the things that amazes me about Democrats is they hate the Constitution until they think it supports them. Then suddenly they're strict constructionists. Yeah. And I've always thought that's hilarious. That they are able to U-turn on a dime when it comes to that. But the thing is, it's a misinterpretation of the First Amendment by Kucinich. And it's not only a gross error on the part of the former congressman, but it's insulting to those of us who recognize the importance of the original principles pinned by the Founding Fathers over 2 centuries ago. The term religious test only appears in the U.S. Constitution once, in Article 6, and it is specifically in reference to persons holding a position in government, and to be even more specific, federal government. According to the clause, in order to hold office in the federal government or the United States, no religious test may be applied. When it comes to immigration, Article 1, Section 9 begins with a clause authorizing the Congress to use legislation to prohibit persons from coming to the United States, be it by way of importation, which led to Congress passing legislation outlawing the Atlantic slave trade, or by way of migration, which is immigration. The clause provides no limitations, no rules, no reasoning. All it says is Congress can prohibit any person for any reason from immigrating in the United States. So President Trump's executive order also puts into action federal immigration law, Section 1182F, which states, whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interest of the United States, he may by proclamation and for such period as he shall deem necessary suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. I've also read that that was a Democrat Party majority Congress that did that.
Well, it was Jimmy Carter who used that in 1979
right,
against
exactly.
Iran.
All right, so Trump's executive order references that law, among others, in the text of his order. As for Kucinich's claim that the First Amendment says no religious test, the claim is untrue. Here's what it says. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. What that means is Congress has no authority to pass any law declaring that the United States has an established religion, a state church, so to speak, and it's language that's designed to protect us against becoming a theocracy, like a Muslim country, or becoming something like the European countries of the time where the monarchs and the church were in bed with each other and sharing power in a totalitarian style of government. The second part of that clause disallows Congress from passing laws that interferes with one's ability to worship. It has nothing to do with immigration. If anything, the separation of church and state laws we've seen, like outlawing prayer in schools, are more of a violation of that second clause I just mentioned than is the travel ban of people from 7 countries that harbor terrorists, fund terrorists, and promote terrorism. So in short, for national security reasons especially, but really for any reason, Congress has the authority to prohibit anybody from immigrating into this country, and the president has the authority to execute upon those laws, which he did. Let me add this one more thing, and then I want to throw it onto you guys over the next 5 or so minutes. During World War II, Congress passed laws, and the president executed these laws, prohibiting or making it difficult for persons from Germany, Italy, and Japan to immigrate in the United States. Was it because we were racist and insensitive? No. We were at war with these countries. We couldn't tell the good people from the bad people. We couldn't tell who really wanted to be here and who were spies. We had to for national security reasons. This executive order is no different. Gentlemen?
Oh, and I agree. And if you go back to World War II, who did we house in California throughout the United States?
Right.
Japanese. Why? To vet them?
Well, and remember, those internment camps was a Democrat idea, by the way.
Absolutely. So was there any flack back then? No, it was fully supported. We have to protect our borders. We have to shut people out from coming to this country who come from these countries who are, destined to come here, lay in wait, and then rise up and attack this country. So, there is a high, strict scrutiny here that has to be established, and these executive orders from Trump on this immigration ban is on target. We should have done this years ago, made it harder for these people to come in. And if you're not a U.S. citizen, and you may have a visa, you may have a green card to come out of this country, but if you get caught up in that, I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for you. To be honest with you, we don't owe anybody outside this country any kind of customer service.
Well, like Spicer said, coming to this country is a privilege, not a right.
That is correct.
The Democrats have demonstrated time and again that they're not on our side. For instance, the military secrets that they reveal in the newspapers are just tragic when our guys die from it. I'm going to have to look at up the 1965 Immigration Act. Some of these lefties have been claiming that act contains some kind of provision about religion. But as the gentleman just said, it doesn't make any sense that any foreigner who has not set foot in America has any kind of rights. What kind of rights does one of these people have?
Well, and the thing is, too, is what you just said about what the left's saying about religion. Religion's not mentioned in that executive order. It's persons from 7 countries who have been deemed as harboring or supporting terrorism. 7 countries. If it was about religion, if you want to say, Islam, then there's 57 Islamic countries. Then wouldn't that have covered all Muslims?
Yeah, we got a problem.
First of all, that's a ridiculous argument.
We got a problem with Mr. Trump in that he kind of fires from the hip, if you'll notice, and he a couple of times referred to a Muslim ban.
Right.
And
then is Islam a religion? Also, of course, that opens up a whole new can of worms when it comes to the left.
We could have a whole show on that, I think.
Yeah, we could. Dennis, what's your thoughts?
Well, if you want to just look at your own neighborhood, whether it be a city or anything else, the refugees that are coming in are being brought in mainly in conjunction with the United Nations. And the states and the cities have no knowledge of who's coming in. They work with these volunteer organizations they call VOLAGs.
Well, they're saying, the United Nations vets these people really well. Well, then the United Nations wants to destroy us. Why would we trust their vetting process?
Well, but the city fathers have no idea who's coming in here either.
Right.
So
exactly.
There is no vetting of these refugees as far as people that are putting America first, that have constitutional authority.
Right.
And myself as a citizen in my city, refugees come in, and there's no way that we can even be informed and know about it. So it's secretly done, so that you can't check it out. And Obama, of course, greatly expanded this well beyond where it was, and now we're just reacting common sense-wise and cutting it back.
Well, and because we got a matter of seconds before we go to break, letting these people into Germany and France has worked so well, hasn't it?
Oh,
they've got terrorism attacks going on that's out the door. There's a correlation. The terrorist attacks increased as the number of refugees increased. We'll talk more about the travel ban, what it has to do with national security, protests at airports, and the judges are trying to stop it. And Trump is telling them, no, you can't stop me. Is that constitutional? All of that and more when we return after this top of the hour break, and then return, yes, I know, it's amazing, for a second hour right here on Constitution Radio. So don't go anywhere.